everyone. This is episode 4, and it's a very, very, very special episode because I will be introducing my wife, my business partner, and the mother of our children, Linda Nguyen. Okay, so in this episode specifically, let me go ahead and just go over exactly how we're going to do this. Okay, so we will be asking each other a personal question, one per person, a business question, one per person, and then we'll also grab 2 questions from our Instagram followers that they actually wanted to know something about us personally. Okay, so that's how it's gonna play out here on the YouTube channel as well as the podcast. So I'm really happy to get into it. And if you're watching on YouTube, I'm sure you're asking, what the heck happened to my arm? So if you're listening on podcast, I'm actually wearing a sling at the moment. I injured my arm, I would say about 2.5 weeks ago. I'm a pretty active guy. I go to the gym and play basketball and those type of things. Freak accident happened at a bowling event on a Friday night. I have no clue what happened. I threw the ball, and I guess that's what they meant when they say you throw your arm out. I literally threw my arm out. The next day I got an x-ray and so on and so on. So long story short, I tore a tendon from that is attached from my shoulder down to my biceps, and it completely severed in half. So I had surgery recently and to repair it. So right now it's a little sore, so it's on a sling, but we'll be okay. We're still running the business. Obviously, I wanted to make sure this podcast, very special podcast event, happens today. So we're slinging away.
Oh man.
All right. So with that said, hi. How are you doing?
Good. And hello.
Hello. Again, so many of you may not know, Linda, again, is my wife. She's not only my wife, but she's also my business partner. Okay. We run this business and we kind of divide it right in half. I primarily focus on marketing and sales, while she primarily focuses on finance and operations. All right, so that's how we kind of do it now. Obviously, anything's subject to change in the future, assuming that we're going to continue to grow the way we're growing. But for now, that's the way it's being done, and that's how we're managing the business. All right, so ladies first. I'll go ahead and let you ask the first question.
Okay. First question.
Let's go with the personal question first, instead of the business, so we'll get into the business afterwards. Okay.
Personal question.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, do you have yours ready?
But of course.
Oh, you do? For
Yes.
real?
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be easier off the cuff, but okay. First question. Did you ever think that the girl you dated and then married would be in position to open a business together? Like, I mean, at what point did you actually think that, okay, well, we've always been separate in our careers and the things that we do as work.
Mm-hmm.
At what point did you decide it's a good idea to maybe have us do it together? Because that all happened, and I definitely didn't think about it when I was dating you or being with you that was going to happen. I just didn't think about it until it happened, and it felt so right. But that's my opinion.
That's a great question. Now, if you all have tuned in on episode 2, early on in my life, thinking about my career, I've always envisioned myself to own a business, right? Eventually, that would be my long-term career goals. Now, did I ever imagine that it would also be running the business with my wife? The answer is no. I did not think that way. That's how it eventually turned out. But in terms of running a business, owning a business, operating a business, and something that is created from scratch, from nothing into something, was something I've always, I guess, inspired to do. Now, in terms of did it work out? That eventually we ended up working together and building a business together, of course. And just to give you guys a little bit of a background, Lyndon and I, we actually met on a social media site. I'm not sure if you all even remember the site, Friendster, okay, which is during the MySpace days. We just so happened to also go to the same school, okay. After we graduated, we both graduated with a finance degree. We both, being in Silicon Valley in the Bay Area, Northern California, a lot of tech companies around here. We both got into corporate finance. She was started working with larger tech companies, okay, and I worked for more of a medical device company, okay. So, but nonetheless, our career paths were very similar: corporate finance, corporate accounting, forecasting, and that type of thing. Before I eventually branched off doing my own thing, right? So, so I guess that kind of leads me into my next question. Since you're asking business first, let's just go business first, right?
I didn't really do a business first. I was wondering at what point in time you saw that mixing personal and business was the right thing to do, because I think a lot of times, even I, when it happened, was a little, hesitant. I'm not used to that that thinking, even though I have planned on just progressing in a career of finance and growing my career in, a typical corporate environment that I have been in.
Right.
So for me to say, oh, okay, I'm just not going to do this anymore because I'm just going to support your business, it really required a certain mindset that, okay, you go in all the way. If we fail, we fail together. We'll have each other to pick each other back up. But then if we're gonna do it and we're gonna give it 150%, then we just have to see where it goes. What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah, and that's
Right?
exactly how I felt. I think, when we had originally discussed about it, going back in memory lane, I think it was to a point in our lives where the business was growing enough to support, obviously us. And I think the idea was, hey, what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
We can always go back to work.
And we have each other.
Both have the confidence and the belief that eventually, if we need to go find another job, then we can potentially do that. But if we don't take the chance, that's something that we may ultimately regret. So,
Yes,
so I
agreed.
think that was the thought process. It was a very simple idea that really just transformed the way we live our lives, right? So, so yeah, I mean, I remember going back and just getting to the point and asking you, hey, it seems like I need help now. So it's either I go out and find help and start growing a business, or how would you feel if you want to actually go and join the business with me and work with me and see what we can make of this, right? We at that point in time, going back to episode 2, all the business really was just me, pretty much selling at first outside of a room that I had rented in Carlsbad when I went to GIA, to selling out of the house, and during this time, Amazon is extremely popular now, but during there's a time eBay was also very popular. That's where a lot of e-commerce was
Yes,
being
I
happened.
remember.
If anything at all, they probably started e-commerce. One of the first companies to really start e-commerce. So, so that's pretty much how it kind of started. And once it started growing, I had bigger ideas and a bigger vision and wanted to really build a real business, right? And that's when I had asked you. So, leading into my question, how did you feel, or what was on your mind when I had asked you to join the business with me?
I would have to say that I'd be lying if that was not an immediate exciting thing to hear. I was like, oh my God, he's going to have me quit my job, and then I'm just gonna go work with him and spend 24 hours a day with him. Dream come true. But right after that second, pass, I really kind of had to think. I'm like, oh my God, if this happens, then all of these things are the things that we wouldn't continue to have if I made that decision to go 100% and support him. But it was a very excited and very scary, I guess, feeling, especially when I knew you were serious about it. But I just felt like if I assessed where you were with the business, it gave me enough confidence to know that that's actually the right decision for us to make. Have me leave the corporate world and finally, switch gears. And it, yeah, it was scary, but I think every day I woke up and went to bed knowing that I gave 1000% of whatever it is that needed to be done in my efforts. I mean, at that time, yes, it was just me and you, but all the little projects that we had were like really big projects that we took on. And as long as we were checking things that were on our bucket list and objectives for the business that we needed to accomplish, as long as we slowly checked it off, it started feeling more and more real that this is not just like a phase of what we're doing as a couple. It's really a business that had real momentum and true, a true good future. Because I think we both care so much about what it is that we do in regards of our efforts going into every project, no matter how big or how small, because we care so much about finishing it that everything that I am able to say that we have done together since we worked together only makes me feel like that's the best decision we have ever made as a couple, both personally and in business. Because I can't imagine trusting myself working for a person that works any less than you.
And well, thank you, first of all. And likewise, I think the reason why we get along so well is we definitely share a sense of accountability, if you will. When we actually do something or set out to do something, we actually go at it 150% at all times, right? Where failure is the last thing that is on our mind. But at the same time, I do want to make sure that I paint the picture correctly, just so that we are not painting a picture that seems always rosy and optimistic, only because at the end of the day, starting a business is a very scary thing.
Yeah, you
there
went into
were
that.
moments when we first started doing this, and we both basically said, and left the corporate world without any income, right? Obviously, there are things in life that you still have to pay for. We still had a son. We still have bills. We still need to have food on the table and all the things that people need in order to survive, where we've also experienced days and days and days and sometimes even weeks without even one sale, right? So it's a huge risk. I mean, it's so risky that it's almost as if sometimes just looking back, I just can't believe that we made these decisions at such an early age, and maybe that's probably also the beauty of it. It's because we're so young that we didn't think it was as risky as it is now that we have two children and all these different things. I think just looking back, it's just it's crazy to me, but I wouldn't change it any other way, right? It's one of those things. It's either the way I personally look at life, and I know I share this with you all the time. My own personal philosophy is everyone's guaranteed X amount of time in this world. The inevitable is the truth for almost everybody. And it's about what you do with the time given is what's important. So if something's important to you, then you must act on it. Because my biggest motivator, if anything at all, a lot of things motivate me, but the one thing that motivates me most is regret. I don't like to regret. So I think that was probably a huge thing that motivated me to ask you to work together, because if there's one person that I knew I could trust to not only be the backbone of what we're trying to build, and we'll put in the same amount of effort and work, because we have our each other's best interest, is you. So I think that was definitely a great decision on my end. I'm glad that you actually agreed to do it.
Me too. I work a lot. If you were to just ask me, how much do you work? Do you work this much? Yeah, I work a lot. But you know what? I wake up excited to go to work. I go home excited because I get to see my kids. So I am full of excitement 24 hours a day. If I can go to the office and be in the office for, I don't know, 24 hours a day, and then have another 24 hours where I can just spend on the kids, because a day has 48 hours, that's totally okay. But because I really, really find that what we do here is so fun. We have the best team, and I mean, who doesn't love jewelry? Like, yeah, I mean, I may not wear so much, but it's such a beautiful thing to appreciate, especially in the area that we're in. We're making custom designed rings where customers are really like just trusting us with their ambition of what a ring of their dreams could be like, and here we are being able to do that. That's the ultimate. It's like our version of them choosing us to get engaged. Do you know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying, and I actually thought about this the other day, because many times our fans and followers will tag us on their proposal. So when I do log into our IG page or what have you and see a beautiful picture of their proposal in under a waterfall, or
Near canyon.
near canyons, it's so beautiful that they allowed us to be a special part of their lives. And just to know that there are thousands and thousands of our rings out there, that obviously didn't bring two couples together, but it started the initiation of a proposal which will ultimately result in a marriage. It's just a beautiful thing. And I tell the people that we work with all the time when we hire a new employee is that I've been in jobs where there are people that will have jobs to, let's just say, finance a home, or a job to whatever the purpose of their job is. Our job is a celebratory job. Our job is to build something so that people can celebrate life, right? To celebrate marriage, celebrate a birthday, celebrate anniversary. I mean, our job is to be a part of a happy moment. So, is it stressful? Sure. I mean, what job
Pressure
isn't
is on,
Pressure's
definitely.
on.
A lot.
Right, but it's a
Yes, it is.
beautiful profession to be in, and I think
It's
I'm very
definitely
happy.
rewarding, because you know
Very.
what happens if like, our customers are satisfied. It's because we were able to do and provide something beautiful for them. Like, it just doesn't get any better than that. Like, you're just part of a happy occasion, and that's my pleasure, and that's my joy. And I'm always on the lookout. How can we make it more exciting for our customers? How can we make this experience better? I mean, it's not just something that I think you and I talk about. It's something that we really communicate throughout our company, that our job is to really work and do what we love in the best interest of our customers. And if it's for them to be married with a very beautiful piece of jewelry that they can, they can afford and more. That's why I'm getting all excited about it, because I'm all about the deal. I'm always about getting the most bang for your buck. And I know people don't know me, but I'm all about. It doesn't even matter what it is. If it's a deal, all of a sudden it's like I really, really, really want it, because now I can get it.
That's exactly who you are.
So I think that's why I'm always on the lookout for that, because we never know. And then if there's anything that we can do that's better for our customers and that's exciting, oh my God, it's gonna be a dream come true for me.
So So I would like to move on to my next question now. Um, I had mentioned this on episode 2 when I was at GIA. Right before going to GIA, I had talked to you, and
Oh my God, that was a very
Matthew was very, very
scary
young.
time.
I guess the best way to describe it is we've been together for a long time. We got married. We have our first kid, and now here is my venture off into study, and I have to be away. Okay, so again, if you haven't listened to episode 2, there are only 2 gemological institutes of America in the United States. One is in New York, and one is in Carlsbad, California. Yes, we do live in California, but if you've never been to California, California is an extremely long state. Okay, so you could drive from south all the way down to San Diego and all the way north up to Sacramento and beyond. It could take you possibly 8 hours or more to just drive through California. So the distance between Carlsbad and where we are currently living, the drive, if there isn't any traffic, it could take at least 6.5 to 7 hours. Okay, so it's not as if we are in state and I could still drive home at night after school. I mean, I'm really driving across 3 regular states, right? So so with that said, the whole idea of leaving brought our household a lot of anxiety, only because she would be, obviously our first experience being parents, but now she's gonna feel like she's basically a
Single mom.
Single mom, yes, a single mom, and I knew that the pressure was going to be on not just on her, but on me, but especially on her, because now she has to go to work, take care of Matt, make sure everything is there while I'm away. So I had talked to her, and I basically said, if I am gonna go, okay, I need you to be very strong, because the moment that you are weak and you wish that I will come back, I will immediately go back. It's not, there's no questions asked about that. If my family needs me, my wife needs me, if my son needs me, I will leave and go home, regardless of how far I am along the program. So if we are going to commit to this, then I need a huge commitment from you, that you will have to be strong, that you can't show any signs of weakness, otherwise it will make me weak and it will make me leave. So that was our agreement. So my question to you again is, I guess, describe the moments when I was gone, and were there any moments in time where you wanted to pick up the phone and said, screw it, we don't need this, just come home?
Man, that was a major unload last episode 2, because when I heard it, I don't know if Brian or EJ or anyone else knew, but
And for those that are listening to the podcast, Brian and EJ are part of our media team.
Yes, and so we talked to them in the office, but I actually did not hear of the episode until I think you were reviewing it to post, right? I bawled so hard because, we're here today. We work together, and, I'm saying all these things, but not once. Well, if you didn't know us as a couple, one of the things that I think we are very similar and really aligned on is we keep a lot of our personal things really just between the two of us. It's not something we really share. We're pretty private people in general. So the thought of you really saying what you said in episode 2 about all the actual things that took place, not all, but I mean, like sharing some of the, just something so personal, I was reminded of how hard that time was and how much has changed because of the sacrifices that we made together and, individually, because holy cow, that just really, I was floored. From the gym bag full of jewelry under the bed with a little dinky lock that I don't know why it's even on there. It's like you take a knife or a scissor and that's the end of it. But yep, so at least that gave us a peace of mind that it's locked. I don't know. That was scary. definitely raising Matt. I mean, I had my sister move in with me during that time. I mean, it was, I wouldn't be able to do it without her helping, but at the same time, it's also not like having the other parent. That was really hard, and I was just afraid of Matt being so young and missing out on memories that he's developing at that age. But at the same time, we didn't really have a choice to go back in time and hope that you went to GIA sooner. I know it was one of the hardest things for you to do because one thing that you may not have shared, I'm not sure if you shared this on the episode 2, but the semester that you signed up to go was after summer, and the whole plan was, I think, for you to go earlier in the year, and yet you refused to pay the tuition that was due until the absolute last day. Because in the case there was any reason for you not to go, you want to be able to say, you know what, you didn't pay anything, so you don't have to go. So that was something that I knew, and I knew that when you actually paid for it, that was really happening. So, there's no point denying the inevitable. And if there's anything like how it has been in the past, you just keep your eye on the prize and you just do it. There's just no question of if it's going to get done, it's how it's going to get done. So that was pretty strong in regards to accepting that. But the moments of weakness that I had when you were gone weren't that many, but it definitely was trying. I think I might have told you maybe after the fact, but to add on to his explanation from episode 2, the moments where I broke down, but I had to pretend like it's not that big of a deal, was when my car broke down.
I was about to share that story, actually.
The car never broke down when he was around, and of course, the week that he leaves, it died, like in the middle of the freeway. I don't even remember what happened, and oh god, that one was another ordeal. Like, we had things to help us get to the right place to fix it, but we didn't know we had that type of service coverage. So I was calling everybody. I didn't even know I could have just called this one number to help.
So let me paint the picture. I get this phone call. This was after class. I was in that room that I had rented out while I was staying down in Carlsbad. I get this phone call from Linda. She's freaking out, right? She's screaming, she's yelling, and I'm saying, calm down, what's going on? She said, my car just broke down. I pulled over on the side of the freeway. Cars are going 80 to, it feels like it's going 80 to 100 miles per hour. I have Matthew in the back seat. I'm afraid someone's gonna just hit us, okay? And I'm like, oh my god, so what am I supposed to do at this moment where I'm a couple of 100 miles away? I can't just appear there and help, especially with our kid just in the back, and he's probably just drinking his milk bottle, not thinking about a thing, right?
Yep, he was fine.
So it's one of those moments where it was very tough, because in that situation, especially as a parent, as a guy, as a husband, you want to be there. You want to be able to help. You want to be able to say everything's okay. I got this. I'll take care of it. No worries, right? But I wasn't. So the fortunate thing was her sister was there. We were able to call her and her boyfriend at the time, and he was able to come out and help. But that was just one example of random things that happened while we were gone. I think the thing that I was concerned most about was when you were painting the picture to me and when you were freaking out was all the cars, and I didn't know exactly where you were on the freeway, if you were on the side of the freeway, the middle of the freeway, or where, and that's what I was more or less concerned about.
Yeah, I wasn't supposed to freak out like that. I think that was something I was not supposed to do, and I probably didn't know I was freaking out, because I this whole time thought I was pretty good at not freaking out.
No, you
but
were.
that was a full-on freak out. That was it. Yep, that was my mistake.
It's all right. No.
Memory updated.
Another well, here's another thing that I had done, just to not go on a tangent here, was, do you remember that one time I would, when I was in Carlsbad, I would visit my family at least every other week or every 3 weeks, either through a flight by Southwest when they had a good deal, or I would just drive, right? So normally.
Actually, let me share this one story before I forget.
Okay.
So, yes, you used to fly and you used to drive, and then that's how we saw each other. It was really, again, hard. Did I say hard like 1,000 times? Yes, it was a very hard time. But I remember, I don't know anything about your classes. I don't know anything about your studies other than how are you doing? Good? Okay, cool. That means that's one less day. Okay, one day closer to you coming home. But then you told me that you failed your test.
I did.
You
I
did.
remember.
You did.
Shouldn't
And
have done that. I'm such a jokester.
since you failed your test, you're going to have to, instead of coming home the next day, you're going to have to, they were accommodating you to retake the test the next day. And I was like, okay, I had a split second thought, how do you fail? Like, you don't fail, but okay, you failed. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, damn it, he failed. Okay, well, it is what it is. He just got to study, so, it's nothing new. You're there, I'm here. And then he's like, okay, well, he's going to go and have a barbecue with his friends and see how everyone else is doing, and then he's just going to study and then call it a day. First of all, I should have known. You were talking to me so much that day. I was like, wow, he must miss me so much. He's on the phone for like 6 hours. I'm like trying to get off the phone.
So it wasn't daytime, it was nighttime.
All day.
Mm-hmm.
It was all, like, you and I were on the phone all day, and I'm just like, okay, well, I think I can't do anything because you're trying to be on the phone, but it's cool. He loves me. He misses me. I'll take it. And then I said, oh, man, I wish you were here because I feel like, I don't know, something fast food, one of those nearby. And then all of a sudden, I get a doorbell ring. And I'm like, I gotta go see who's at the door. Open the door, and there he was with my McDonald's. So he full on totally made me worried and kind of disappointed that he didn't pass, but at the same time he showed up. So this whole time he was lying to me, and it was the most amazing Big Mac ever.
Well, what about me?
Yeah, because you brought it. That Big Mac was good because you came and delivered it from 300, I don't know how many miles. Is it 600? I don't even know. Whatever it is.
Whatever
from
miles,
really far away.
All right.
So I think that was, moments like that, I think we tried where we can. But totally unforgettable, and I forgot a little bit until right now.
That was a fun drive. I took off as soon as class ended, and I drove through the night on Highway 5. If you have not driven on Highway 5 in California, it feels like a straight line that goes on forever and ever and ever that connects Northern California to Southern California. But it was a fun drive. It was fun talking to you. And then I know that you were you usually like to grab something to eat at night. So, obviously the only thing open at that point in time was fast food, which is also somewhat your favorite food.
I know.
You love it.
Don't share too much about it. It's frowned upon. I know it. I know it.
And so that's what I grabbed for you.
I know.
Yeah.
So, wait, what was your question again?
I think you answered my
Did
question.
I?
Your sign of weakness, and we went on a tangent, which is cool because we shared a lot of stories in between.
I had to update my memory because I remembered wrong. Weakness. No, I think that was it.
Okay. So now, I had 2 questions for you.
Mm-hmm.
You had 1 question for me.
Okay.
Do you have another question for me, or do you want to move right along to the questions?
No, I
that
do.
our
I
fans-
do. I do have a question. It is related to something that I think it's been so long ago you may not remember. But if I mention it, I think you could.
Okay.
How do you feel, or do you feel like who you want your company to be the moment and the day that you created it versus how and where it is today? Would you feel like the basis, the the reason, the objective of what you wanted to do versus what you're doing today. Has it changed? Is it the same? And have customers, have there been moments where, I know of one, customers remember how you started when it was just, I think, was it just eBay?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to see if I can phrase it where I'm not giving too much of it away, but okay, maybe I should because it doesn't look like you're getting it.
No, I'm not.
So,
I have
do
no
you
clue what you're
remember
saying.
when you started your eBay store and I
Okay.
think it asked you to write like a little bio or profile about the business and why you were there and what you wanted to do for customers and
Mm-hmm.
wanted to offer, even though I don't think there was a layaway option, but there was a program that you wanted to say people can opt in if they feel like that's a better financial method for them to have a
Mhm.
layaway. Do you remember a customer reaching out and said, "Hey, I remember reading that about you, and you offered it at so and so time. I have been saving so that I can finally put one of the items that I love on layaway."
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember?
I do. I do.
You do?
Yeah, I do.
What do you remember about that? Because I feel like that was like an international customer that has been following you since seriously like the beginning of when you just started and
Mhm.
has been a fan all
Well,
the
I
way
mean,
until they
to
were ready to buy.
Yeah, to make a long story short, basically what had happened was it's just a eBay customer that's been following us for some time, and over the years I have provided more options, more ways of affordability in terms of our products, more products, more options, more services, and I guess there was a very nice email that she had sent to me, just saying that she's been noticing and she really appreciates what we've been doing, and I think that falls in line with what we always do every day, no matter how much we've grown. I think we're going to continue to go towards that direction because at the end of the day, I think the more we can do for people is what is going to basically be beneficial for them and ultimately help us out as a business. So yeah.
I just remember there's just some
Mhm.
very special. Did you hear that? Special customers comments that sometimes. I mean, I think they may or may not know that when they send something so nice, we all do get to see it and read it,
Mhm.
and it means so much. So we really love our customers, and
Mhm.
you have no idea how much it makes our day when we know that we made you guys a very happy customer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's what we're here
See,
for.
I want to cry again talking about this stuff. It's like, I'm like, it's so big to me, and I don't know if people may or may not know it. It's just that's what we strive to do.
Mhm.
So it's very nice to hear just really nice things from our followers and customers.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's go over a few questions from our followers on Instagram. Okay, and I know that we're past the 30-minute mark, so it's been pretty long. I want to make sure that we wrap this up.
Holy cow.
Okay. So real quick, there's a few obviously funny questions like, can I have a job? Well, we are hiring from time to time. We want to
Send us your resume.
Yes,
Tell
there's
us why we should love you.
So that is the first question. Second question is, how do you balance? This is from Of Good Courage. She actually follows us quite a bit. She asked some very good questions. So I want to make sure I
I'm
do a
excited.
shout out to Of Good Courage. How do you balance love and business while running F&B? I think what we've just discussed about is pretty much how we do it. So this is actually how we do it. We don't see family and business as separate. We don't see business and family as separate. We see it as life and one and the same. So I think it requires that we run a business so that we can support our family, and it requires that our family supports us in order for us to run our business. So that's just the way we see. Sometimes it will require that we will need to work more in order to make things work. So Lynn and I will dedicate more time to work. Now, when there are times where we feel like we can have a little break, then we will spend more time with family. But I don't think there's ever a separate.
No.
We ever separate the two.
Not really.
That's just how we feel about it, right? I mean, do you feel the same? Or I don't want to speak for you, but that's how I feel about it.
I think I'm in perfect alignment with that. In addition, I think it also helps that our mindset is somewhat very similar in what we want and where we see the business going. And we're also very aligned when it comes to what we want when it comes to our family. So I think there's that mutual understanding, but I think where it might be helpful when couples run a business together, there's a reason why you are more focused on the front end of things, and there's a reason why I'm focused on the back end of things. If people don't know, we are like a regular couple. We get into like little arguments, or things just might not, you just get a little annoyed of each other, but you know what, that's normal.
You get annoyed of me?
No. But we're a regular couple, so things happen. We don't always agree, and it goes the same for when it comes to the work that we do. Even though he's totally looking at something else, we won't agree. But at the end of the day, I think we have to just decide. No matter how we feel about something, it's not about how you feel. It has to make sense because it's in the best interest of the business. It's in the best interest of our customers. It's in the best interest of our employees. When you take emotions out of it, I think that makes decision making a little bit easier. But at the same time, if it's an area that it's not my forte, and you are more of an expert in that domain, leave it to the pros. Leave it to the expert in that area to make the final decision. So if you ever want to do anything with your spouse, especially run a business together, I think it's very helpful and really good, healthy, to just be able to say, okay, I'm going to trust that you can handle this side of the business. I have full faith in you, but let's just say, should anything come up, we should definitely meet to discuss. But at the end of the day, the person that has the strongest experience in that topic, in that area, should make the final decision. And I think that's where we agree. So I think that's what just works for us.
I think, if I could provide some value to couples that are thinking about starting a business together, I think my 2 cents on this would be this. If you want to know, in a relationship, if we were to use an analogy, if you want to know if you're compatible with that person, if you can actually live with that person, you can get married to that person, the first thing you should do before marrying that person is possibly even start living together. Can you live with their good habits and bad habits, right? So it's the same for business. If you want to start a business together with the person that you're in a relationship with, try it, right? It may work out, it may not work out, but you won't know unless you try it. So there's going to be good habits and bad habits in the workplace, just like how it is at home. But you have to understand each other's strengths and weaknesses, and you have to position yourself so that the strengths are put in the right places, right? There's no point in trying to better someone's weakness. I think it's better to promote someone's strength, right?
Agreed.
So I think that is my piece of advice. And the second piece of advice is, like she said, obviously every couple, no couple is perfect, right? We do get into arguments. We're just like any other couple. We
don't believe social media. There are regular people just like us.
Yes. And I would say, if you do get in an argument, the hardest thing to do is, like she said, to be logical and not let the emotions dictate. Otherwise, the business will suffer.
Yeah.
Right? If our teammates need our time and energy to focus on something and our mind is on the argument, then we won't be able to focus on that. If our customer needs our time and energy on a product or a service or a question, we may not focus on that because we're thinking about each other. So I think the one thing that we do have to separate at all times is that no matter what we feel at home, good or bad, we can't take it to our place of work. Because if you are going to run a business, the business has to be run efficiently. In order to run efficiently, you have to run it from a logical base point.
Agreed.
Agreed.
So yes, that question was, how do you balance? I think we just get along pretty well outside of work, and I think we just happen to be very aligned when it comes to the professional side. I think objectives are clear, and thank God for this wall right here.
All right, so I want to wrap this up. So that is Linda, in a nutshell. We're trying to keep this below, a certain threshold. It seems like.
Yeah, you guys gotta cut a bunch of stuff because maybe I just talk too much because I tend to do that.
No, you don't. So I mean, this is for a podcast. We're trying to keep it as organic as possible. We're most likely not going to make any cuts. So everything you said is permanent. You cannot take this away.
Oh my God. I usually have no filter. Make sure you guys listen, okay? And if it's not appropriate, just, beep it out or something.
So that is Linda in a nutshell. That's my wife.
Yep.
That's the mother of my children. That is my business partner. This is the couple that runs Fire and Brilliance. Again, if you ever have any questions on an operational standpoint, she's the one who's leading the way. So with that said, thanks again, guys. This is episode 4. This is the episode 4 of Spilling the Tea with F&B. We want to be able to provide you with a little more insight to who runs the business, who are the people that are in charge, and how we are running the business to better serve you. Okay, so I hope you're enjoying the podcast. If you're tuning it to us on YouTube, then thank you again. The biggest compliment to what we do, and if you do find value in what we do, definitely hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, what have you. We're on all of these platforms. Get the word out there. Fire and Brilliance is here to provide you with all the jewelry options that you may potentially be looking for that is not really known out there because no one's talking about it. We're talking about it. So thanks again, guys. Goodbye.
Bye.